Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Friday, the 17th, or 16th. Tomorrow's the 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I haven't been doing a whole lot on Steemit this week or on YouTube. I feel like I've had a sinus infection, but my wife thinks I've had the flu. She also got sick, so she may be on to something because you can't pass a sinus infection to somebody. But anyway, I had a slight fever the other day, and I still have a bit of a cough. I don't have anything to drink with me, so hopefully I won't start hacking away while we're talking. But today's my first day back out of the house this week. It was just as well. I had a bunch of stuff to get settled up with my taxes this week, so I just sort of hung out in the bedroom and just worked on my taxes for the most part this week. Luckily, I didn't have a whole lot of other stuff to do. I remembered I had to get her car to the emissions today, so I ran up here now. There's actually not much of a line here, but I thought I'd take a second while I'm waiting in line to just talk a little bit about something that recently came up. I was on Twitter the other day. You can find me on Twitter at Mighty Joe Nolan, and I made a comment about art and morality, and I said art is amoral. And I had a few people, insist that it was moral and art could be good and all this stuff. And there's problems with that idea. First of all, as soon as you insist that art can be good in some way, that art can be, virtuous, etc., you automatically set yourself up for the counterpunch, right? And the counterpunch is that somebody could turn around and declare that a piece of art is amoral, right? We used to see more of this in America when there'd be various obscenity trials. This movie, that book. Things would be banned. It's not that long ago in my father's era. There were books banned all the time. Books were censored in America back in the mid-century of the 20th century, the 40s and the 50s. A lot of landmark trials, Allen Ginsberg's Howl, Tropic of Cancer, books like that had to break through a barrier to get to a place where now you can write whatever the fuck you want in a book, and it just depends on who wants to sell it. But nobody can really, denounce it. It's a work of art. It's beyond that kind of judgment. And we used to see that still in towns where somebody might want to close down the adult bookstore or the adult theater. Now that pornography has largely become an online phenomenon, it's a private indulgence. It's no longer a public commodity. So you see less and less of that. But we have seen that in the past, and time again, we see that in a place like America, where we have the right of free expression, that it gets pushed back upon. It's really hard to make something that's just perfectly obscene. You got to be really, really fucked up, to have something that can't be called, a creative work of some kind. Sorry, I'm trying to turn this music down a bit and listen to some Gene Clark. If you guys don't know Gene Clark, he was one of the original Byrds, and he went on to make a bunch of really good solo albums that a lot of people have never heard. Check out Gene Clark. Definitely not obscene, but I would still call it amoral. And when I say amoral, it's important that I'm not calling it immoral. I'm not saying that art is evil, man. Like all art is the work of the devil or something like that. I'm saying it's amoral. I'm saying it's neither good nor bad, and that those sorts of judgments really have no place when we're talking about creativity. Creativity is creativity, and a lot of these right or wrong, good or bad, good and evil judgments that we might have about it, they're simply reflections of our projections, right? If beauty is in the eye of the beholder, then certainly, whether or not this work of art is evil or good or dirty or obscene or virtuous or heroic or brave, all that shit's bullshit. It's not fucking brave. It's a painting. It's just a fucking painting. It may fill you with a feeling of heroic bravery. It may fill you with a sense of offended, you're offended. You think it's some kind of depraved shit, but that's on you, man. And this kind of thing goes back to World War II. One of the big things the Nazis did was they collected a bunch of modernist art, which they were against because they were super conservative people who wanted art to look like it was from fucking ancient Rome, right? They were really into monumental statues and big columns and shit like that. They were not into the breakdown of the figure and the coming of abstract art. They called it degenerate. They said that's fucking degenerate art. They literally gathered a bunch of it together, put it on display just so they could mock it and insult it and use it as an example of how depraved these artists were, many of them Jews, no coincidence. And then they fucking destroyed that shit. And they threatened to do that with lots of other stuff. There was lots of people, a movie like Monuments Men and things like that get into how, there were these really, really amazing efforts by people to save art and to keep it safe from the Third Reich as it stormed across Europe, trying to get rid of all this degenerate art, but that gives you an idea of how dangerous these ideas are. Once you start, imposing your ideas about morality on art, you start opening it up for those kinds of judgments to take place. So it's important to remember that art is art. Art is art. Creativity is creativity. Our wild imaginings are our wild imaginings, and it's there to be provocative. It's there to make you think. It's there to make you feel. Even more importantly, in my book, when it comes to creativity, it's really I don't really I'm not really. That's a whole other thing. We can talk about feeling and thinking in art later. But art's there to do many things, but it's certainly not there to be a representative of good or a representative of evil. It's none of those things. It's creative work. And if you're somebody who makes creative work, I hope you're being very productive with it, and I hope you're finding lots of opportunities to make it a sustainable practice. Certainly, that's 99% of what I'm doing all the time is either making my work or trying to figure out ways to keep making my work when I'm not at the auto emissions stop. I'm sitting here smiling because I can't believe how quick this is going. 99 times out of 100, every time I come here, there's like a huge line of people. But it looks like I timed it just right here in the middle of the month, right? I didn't wait till the end of the month like a dummy, which is what I usually do. But anyway, so art and morality, never the twain shall meet. And more next time, and hopefully next week I'll be a little bit more active here on YouTube and on Steemit. I've got some movie reviews coming up. I'm going to see several screenings here in the next couple weeks. I was updating my calendar yesterday, and I got a bunch of movies coming up. I can't remember everything, but it'll just have to be a surprise. I'm going to keep doing my instant movie reviews. I'm glad you guys have been enjoying those. I had several people follow me today, who are obviously into the movie review thing, so thank you so much for that. And I think I'm going to do some more written art reviews, too. I wrote an art review on my Steemit page not too long ago, and also offered to do art reviews for people on Steemit, and I'm going to put up more of that content as well. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. If you are on Steemit, or if you want to look into being on Steemit, it's a great website, sort of like Reddit, but the whole thing is incentivized by a cryptocurrency called Steem. So if you want to get paid for being a content creator, or you want to get paid for being a content curator, unlike you'll ever have at Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, check out Steem, S-T-E-E-M-I-T, Steemit.com. I think it's great. I really think it's a cool site. I'm really happy to have found it, and I'm really happy to be sharing this with you there. So anyway, again, happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. It's a big deal for the Nolans to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I always consider it to be a very important holiday. I was glad to get out of the house today because I had to go shopping to make my my Irish stew. I need to get a can of Guinness and some potatoes, of course. So I got all my ingredients together. I'm going to make some stew tomorrow. I'm going to watch the UFC fights from London. It's going to be a good time. Later this evening, I'm going to hit another grocery store on the way home that's got a few things that I always like to get on Friday. I got to get some wine, and I'm going to head home. And then tonight at 6, my college, Michigan State University, is playing their first game in the March Madness, so I'm probably going to watch that too. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the basketball. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. And if you have any ideas or thoughts about art and morality, I know it's kind of a heavy subject for a Friday afternoon, but if you have any ideas about what I just said, please comment, and I'd be happy to talk with you all. All these videos are meant to create conversation, create context and conversation. So let's have a talk. Let's have a chat. I'm the next person in line. Oh, I'm so stoked. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.